Alright, so welcome back to the channel. If you're watching this, please like, subscribe, and comment down below. Today I'm in a Lotus Evora GT. It is a wonderful car. Now that I have more seat time in this vehicle, I must say it's an astounding vehicle that has a lot of character, has a lot of personality, and it really stirs the emotions really well. And I was driving this car, just going through the paces, just trying to figure out what my capabilities were with this car. I really was in for a surprise because I really didn't realize how dialed in of a sports car this really is. When I'm driving the car, I was trying to get a feel for the throttle, try to get a feel for the braking, try to get a feel for the clutch. All these things just all synchronizing in harmony. It was definitely a revelation for me in seeing how well dialed in this sports car is. And I've driven Caymans, I've driven 911s, and I'm saying that this vehicle is right up there in terms of performance with those vehicles. Just the level of precision in the engineering, the way everything is thought out. I really like this car. Now I took a few notes just to keep me in line with what I really wanted to say and really figure out what I wanted to say with this video. So, the way that this car handles. It feels like it's on rails. Whenever I take a turn, I feel certain emotions, certain things evoke from the car. In terms of its ability to hold a corner, it does it magnificently well. In terms of its ability to have an amazing turning radius, I have to say with the turning radius and the way that everything sort of stays planted on the ground, it drives it really well. I mean, there's no complaints in that department at all whatsoever. The cross-drilled rotors on the AP racing calipers have amazing feel, and what makes them perfect is the heel and towing capabilities that this car actually has. When I heel and tow in this vehicle, the pedals are very closely spaced together, so it allows me the opportunity to kick in the throttle just enough to make the RPMs reach north, and it allows me the ability to have some smooth shifts when I'm downshifting. It's spectacular. When I'm driving in New York City though, I gotta say, this is a flaw that the car has. And I hate to give flaws on a vehicle, but I have to be completely unbiased. I have to be completely honest. When I'm driving this car, it's not necessarily the smoothest car on the road. The way that the handling and all those great things that I love about the vehicle, the way that those things are dialed in, they don't necessarily translate to perfect, smooth ride capabilities. And I'll say this is a sports car. This is a purebred sports car with the intention of going to the track and handling business first, pleasure later. Like, that's the mentality that this Lotus has. That goes to say this. A vehicle that is designed to be comfortable, a British vehicle that's designed to be comfortable, is a Rolls-Royce or a Bentley or a Jaguar. That's the type of vehicle that you go for. You go for the XJ Jaguar. I'm 6'5" and I have really long legs. It's a miracle that Lotus met the demands of their taller drivers, but the back seat really should be a parcel shelf. I share the same criticism with Porsche 911s. This is not a wafter. This vehicle is designed to be rough around the edges. I mean, the way that I'm sitting down in this seat, this is a very comfortable seat, but it's a sports seat. So there's bolstering on the lower portion of the legs. There's bolstering on the backrest because it's designed to keep me in place during hard cornering. So this is a track-focused performance vehicle. And that's what this vehicle is designed for. You're going to feel every pothole. You're going to feel every speed bump. That's what this car will do. It's not lying behind its identity. This car will be a rough driver in New York City traffic. So if you live in an area like the Lower East Side, or you live in an area that has potholes that have gone unrepaired for more than a decade, this is not the car for you. But if you're a person that takes the car out to Bear Mountain and likes to go on a journey that has a lot of curvy roads north of the Palisades Parkway, then this is the perfect vehicle for you. Now, that goes to say this, sports cars are not really designed for New York City. But if you have a sports car that you have the luxury of taking out into the city and taking out into the country and driving freely, then this is the perfect weekend warrior getaway vehicle. It really is. So this car works on Long Island. I mean, this car lives on Long Island. So it actually does everything on Long Island really well because the streets of Long Island are really well paved. So that's where I like to drive the vehicle. within close proximity, but of course, there's a lot of highway patrol, so I try to keep the speed at respectable levels as much as I can. Yeah, so the ride will be jarring, but that's okay. That's the character of this car. This car plays into Colin Chapman's design philosophy of being lightweight, minimalistic, and just getting straight to business. So you're not going to have a lot of features that you have in other vehicles. You're not going to have a very extensive collective of buttons. I do criticize the Lotus attempt at navigation systems. I mean, this looks like it was pulled right out of the Crutchfield catalog. I don't know. You're going to have a minimal array of buttons. You're not going to have too much going on. You're basically going to have your gear shift lever. You're going to have your steering wheel. And this handbrake lever, this e-brake lever, is perfectly placed for drifting. I mean, those are the things that I'm not going to do until I learn how to do them better in a controlled environment. And that's where I really want to practice those drifting capabilities. But for now, I'm not going to be drifting anything anytime soon because I like living. I like being safe and I like doing things the right way. So with that said, this vehicle is very well designed. The attention to detail is better than any Lotus that I've ever been in the past. One of my neighbors growing up had a Lotus Esprit, the 4-cylinder model, and he absolutely loved it. I criticized him for having a 4-cylinder supercar. I was like, why not get a V8? And then years later, they came out with the Lotus Esprit V8. But the 4-cylinder car he eventually sold, and he got into other vehicles because he was into those types of exotic vehicles at the time. But I remember just thinking the Lotus Esprit was something special at the time because it was the car that James Bond had featured in as one of his hero cars in one of his earlier films. I can't actually quote the film right now. I absolutely love the idea of a Lotus. I mean, Ayrton Senna drove one. That says enough about handling characteristics. This car is a handling masterpiece. It really is. Mid-engine design, so the engine is right out back. I could see the throttle assembly moving as I'm driving. I mean, I hit the accelerator pedal, I downshift, I hit the throttle, and I see the actuator just going. Doesn't get better than that. It actually is really cool to see that while I'm driving. And that's precisely what I'm going to do. I'm going to get behind the wheel and I'm going to drive this car. So thank you for watching. Please like, please subscribe, and comment down below. The final video in this series is of me behind the wheel of this Lotus. Now stay tuned for the next episode.